Okay. I'm going to continue on. So now that we did it with the top half, I am going to go through and I'm going to do it to the bottom half as well, but a little bit different. First, I'm going to take plain white and I'm going to add it underneath down here. I'm going to do the bottom half. Well, it's the bottom half of the canvas, but it's only a couple inches off the top. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to add a little bit of this yellow. Just like that. Okay, and now we're going to go through and we're going to add more of the magenta. No, now I got it too dark. Okay. So go ahead and add the magenta. The light magenta. And cover the rest of the bottom of the canvas. You don't have to go to the very, very, very bottom. I did a little bit there, but about where the wood is you can stop. But don't forget to go all the way to the edges. Up there a little bit, you can leave it, but down further. All right, you can also put a little magenta up here. And of course, you could put a little yellow down here if you'd like. You just want it to look natural. You don't want it to look like a big stripe. Just kind of blend it in. Okay, so it's going to kind of come out like that. You could also go through and you could put some white in if you want as well. So now we're going to take a round brush that's kind of medium shape, and I'm going to take the yellow. And I'm going to paint a half of a sun here. So just kind of eyeball about half of it. Fill it in. So you just want a half circle, which is your sun. All right, so just like that. I'm going to get it a little better on this side. Okay, much better. And now we're going to make some of our lighter gray. So I've got the gray, I've got more white, and I'm going to add a little bit of the gray into the white, a little bit at a time. You want a light gray, but you don't want it to be so light that it almost looks like it's white. Okay. I'm going to try it out on the canvas and see if, no, that's good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is you're going to make the land. It's going to be covering up your horizon line. And hopefully you didn't paint it as dark as mine came out because my pen was a little dark. You're better off using a pencil when you draw that line anyway. So what you want to do is you want to do a line across, but you want it to be a little bumpy because you want it kind of a little hilly. You want it to have some shape to it other than flat. Okay. Try to cover up the line all the way. My line showed up too much because I did it at the last second and I just grabbed a quick pen that I found sitting on the table. So hopefully you did yours in pencil. So just make some of the ground. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's supposed to be the edge of the lake though. This is supposed to be the lake. And then this is, the sky is reflecting on it. And do this after your sun is dry, which my sun is not dry, so I'm sure mine's gonna smear. Don't forget, make some bumps here and there, because you don't want to have a perfectly flat ground. And then you also want this side to come down a little, because this is the edge of the shore, that way. So kind of like that. All right, so now got it that way for your ground. Now you can do the ground down at the bottom. I should have used the bigger brush. Do the same thing. You know what, I'm going to switch to a flat brush. I'm not going to use the really, really big brush, but I'm going to use the next size down. So take your gray and do your bottom. Same thing, make it a little bumpy. You don't want it perfectly smooth. Okay, I've got too much paint clumped up right there. If you mess up like I do, you just make a bigger little piece of land there. Okay. That's it, I had a lump in it. Okay, so once you're done with that, making your land everywhere, the end of your shore. All right, you can go back through, let yours dry. We're going to pretend like mine is dry, and what you want to do is you want to take a little white and you want to add a little bit of white closer to the top, so it looks like the snow is sitting on it, the fresh snow. Like I said, mine is not dry. Wait till yours dries, because mine is coming up. So just make some snow patches on the top of yours once yours is dry. Same thing for in front of where your sun is. So I'll make some snow on there. And then wait till your bottom part is dry too. Go back and do the same thing. You want to make some highlights of snow on it. Looks better if you can kind of spread them out a little bit. All right, then you also want to do the opposite. And you want to add a little bit more gray to your lighter gray you made. And you just want to darken it a little, not a whole bunch. And you want to make some darker gray by the shoreline, which is the part that's closest to the water, because that's where it would be the darkest if you really were looking at the water. So just kind of put it a little bit here and there. Just don't go smooth like with one straight line. Kind of go up a little bit in some spots. My yellow keeps trying to come up because I didn't wait for mine to dry. Okay. It's just kind of, you're making some little highlights of where the shore is. Doesn't have to be smooth, it should be a little choppy looking. Same thing on the bottom. You can make some like that, so it kind of looks like, almost like rocks are growing there. Not growing there, are laying there. And the snow is like formed around the rocks. You're just adding more dimension. And since the snow from up there would be like where the sun is shining, that's why you're putting the dark stuff below. Okay. And there doesn't have to be snow on all of it. All right. Now while those parts are drying, you want to take a fairly small brush. You know what? I might switch to the other one. I'm going to switch to this one. And I'm also going to switch to another paper towel because that one's too soggy already. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make some lines in the water to make it look like the sun is reflecting. So I would take some white first and just make some lines across like that so it makes it look like the sun. And it's up to you how many. Now my other one I went all the way down, but you know what? I don't think this time I am. I don't think the sun would have been reflecting all the way down. Okay, and you also could take some white and you can make some light little waves in the water. So don't make them straight, make them a little choppy looking. You don't want them real bright, but you just want some choppy water like this one. I don't like the way that came out, but I'm gonna leave it because if I try to fix it, I'll probably mess it up. So you just want some choppy little parts in the water. So once you're done with that, and you got the white part for where the sun is, you want to go back and you want to do the same thing with the yellow. You'll probably see it more in the bottom. So just like that, so it looks like it is reflecting as well. Now, I don't like that big one of white right there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over it with the yellow, make it look smaller. Okay. You can also go through with a little bit of magenta. I'm going to add a little bit of my magenta to the light magenta and make a slightly darker magenta. And I'm going to kind of go and add you could go through, I think the first time I did it, I actually went through and I added it with the big brush. I added some of it in there. So you can just make some lines on it like that too. Okay, so now we want to make our trees. So I've got like 3 different spots of trees, and I've got 3 trees in each of the areas, which I didn't even try to do purposely, but it's good to have odd amounts. You really shouldn't do evens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my small brush, get all the paint off of it, and I'm going to take straight gray. Remember, Make sure yours is all dry before you continue on. And I'm going to make a trunk first. And my trees are only about 1.5 to 2 inches at the most. They're not very big trees at all. And then you just want to, after you make your trunk, just kind of go back and forth down the sides like that to gradually get it thicker at the bottom, just like that. I need a little one at the top there. Now I need a little bit more sticking out. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make another tree next to it. This one I'm going to make a little bit shorter. You know what? I'm going to make the stem trunk for the last one too. I can kind of eyeball where I want them exactly. Like I said, make sure your paint is dry first, because otherwise I keep putting my arm down in mine. So just kind of brush back and forth. Tell my paint underneath is still wet. Okay, now I'm going to make a little one. All right. Now I'm going to make some over here that are all smaller. And I'm going to give up trying not to get paint on my arm because I keep putting it down and getting it on there. So I'm going to make the trunks first. So you can tell my paint is not dry. I'm going to go back, do the same thing. And if you get white in it like I do, because I didn't wait for mine to dry, just go back over. Well, I didn't like that at all, the top. Okay, just kind of go back over it. Or wait till yours dries. Okay. Hurry up. So my last trees are going to kind of be a mess. Way too thick. Do this one. And one more. Very crooked. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing back and forth. Gotta try to make it wider at the bottom, but every time I try to do that, it doesn't work. And it is better if you start from the middle for your branches and come outward from the center, from where your trunk is. Makes a better end of your brush because it's more wispy looking rather than solid. Let me show you. If you had a tree trunk here and you went like this, see how you have a big lump? You don't want a big lump like that. You want it to be thinner at the end like that. You don't want the big piece like that. You don't want real thick. And try to go wider as you get towards the bottom. Okay, when your trees are all dry, you want to go back, and mine are going to be pretty wet. So I think I'm just going to show you on these over here because these look, 2 out of 3 look dry. So what you want to do is you want to take a little bit of white paint, very little. Don't put too much paint on your brush. And you want to just make a few branches with white on them. You don't want to add the whole tree white. You just want to make it look like there's some snow on your tree. So just kind of like that. So over here it kind of worked out because it smeared my gray with the white from underneath. So just kind of little bit random here and there. Make a little bit of white to make it look like snow is on your tree. Just like that. Okay? And when you're done with that part, you need to make the reflections of your tree underneath your trees. So you want to use straight gray, and you just want to make little dash marks. You know what? I don't think I used straight gray. I think I used the gray that we mixed. I lied. We used that. Let me try. Yeah, use that. Use the light gray. Forgot already. And make some little lines underneath. Just try to make them small. I've got a terrible brush. I gotta get a new brush. So just try to make them small and just make little dashes underneath where the tree is. And of course, if it's a bigger tree, make more dashes. If it's a small tree, make less dashes. So like this one would be a bigger tree. Do definitely need new brushes. My bristles are not cooperating. Okay, so see, that's a smaller tree, so you're going to put less little dashes. Same thing with that one. So that one's a little taller, so I'll go one more. And then these two, I didn't put these on the sample one just because, I don't know, from the angle I wasn't sure if it should have them or not. But I'm going to just go ahead and put some in over there. Could look like it's reflecting this way because the sun's there, but we'll leave it like that. So go ahead and put your little lines in so it looks like the tree is reflecting also in your water. And that is it. You can go back through. Like I said, mine was too wet, but I could go back through once it's dry and kind of fix my snow on it because I didn't like the way some of it came out because my paint was still wet. But you can go through and you can just add a little here and there to make it look a little better. Okay, it's up to you. Same thing with your water. If you want to add more lines in your water for more variations, you could do that. If you want to go through and you want to make your sky a little lighter, because every time you do it, if you did more than once, like when I did it, it's not going to come out exactly the same. So my first one was much lighter in color, and my second one is darker in color. So it's kind of up to you what you like too, depending on if you want it lighter or if you want it darker. It's up to you. Now I will say it shows up a little better on this one because it's lighter. So if I had to pick one, this is definitely my favorite one, the way everything shows up better. So, all right, and that is it. Don't forget you put your initials on the bottom, and it is done. Next week we will be doing a Valentine's Day painting with some dandelions that are heart-shaped. All right, so I will see you then.